All right, welcome back to another episode of After the Whistle, a Front Porch Sports podcast. I know you guys have missed me. It's Murray again. We've taken about a week off here. My fault. We've just had some issues with the computer, storage issues. Fixed it. We're good to go. Gonna start dropping once or twice a week again. Not really gonna dive too much into it because the Super Bowl is over a week old now, but obviously we didn't do a Super Bowl episode. I'm really upset about that. We recorded one and had some issues with the storage. It was a great episode. We had a great guest on it, so that was disappointing, but not the end of the world. He'll be on some more episodes in the future. Tom Brady won his 7th ring. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because it's kind of old news now, but just amazing. 7-3 in the Super Bowl now. I was all over the Chiefs, so obviously I lost. It's almost good that this didn't happen because I would have just given out losers. But I think a lot of people saw it as the potential of a passing of the torch moment from Brady to Mahomes, and it just couldn't have been any more the opposite. I mean, it wasn't even close. 31-9 was the final. Brady MVP again. The Chiefs didn't even score a touchdown, which I believe they said that had never happened while Mahomes was quarterback. So we'll do an NFL offseason episode in the coming weeks, probably before the draft, and then we'll do another one after the draft. But that's all we're going to say about the NFL. On this episode, we're going to be focusing a lot on college basketball. I got another great guest, Logan. He was on the podcast earlier episode. We had some great picks. We went 9-4 collectively, or individually, collectively 18-8. So a pretty good record between the two of us. We got 10 games to break down. We break down the top 16 that CBS came out with pretty recently. So it'll be a good episode talking about some winners. We agreed on most of the picks, so hopefully we can make you guys some money. And without further ado, we'll get into that. I would like to welcome on our first recurring guest of the show, back for his second time, college expert, college basketball guru, Mr. Logan Pugh. Logan, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, Murray. How are you doing?
Oh, just lovely. For the viewers at home who don't remember, last time Logan was on the show, all we did was give out winners, going 9-4, giving out 3 underdogs that not only covered the spread, but won the game outright. So if you guys weren't on those picks, you definitely should have been. You'll be on these ones this time, though. We are recording this Tuesday night. We got a solid slate of games on Wednesday and on Thursday, and we're going to break down. CBS released the top 16 of their bracket. So we're going to start with the game selections. I have the lines for all the games, so we're going to get right into it. Wednesday night, I'd say the premier game of that night, Texas at Oklahoma. When these two teams met earlier, Oklahoma won on the road. It was a good game. Both teams, one was a 3, one was a 4 in this first 16. The spread is Oklahoma -1.5, so a small favorite there. Who you got?
So I broke it down into a fundamental standpoint. Shout out Kent Murphy. But
Absolutely.
what I had was Oklahoma beats Texas by 1. Obviously, it was a really, really close game. I think that has something to do with the spread this time.
Mm-hmm.
They also have very, very close wins against Alabama, Texas, and then 2 wins against West Virginia, who has shown like they've been very, very good this year. So I think that kind of shows a lot. I'm a big fan of Oklahoma right now. I've kind of hopped on their train recently. I don't know what they changed since December, but a lot has changed for them. They're doing a lot better now. What came down to it in their last few wins, especially that one against West Virginia, the really close game was
Double overtime.
Yeah, the double overtime. West Virginia couldn't hit free throws. Oklahoma could. I just think it's gonna come down to free throws. So I'm taking Oklahoma. I'm a big fan of Texas, and I really was, especially in the beginning of January. But with like them dropping down, what are they now, like 15 or something like that?
They
14.
have dropped. Yeah, they're out of the
Yeah,
top 5 for
they're
sure.
out of the top five. But I mean, I really like Texas. I honestly thought they were going to be close, like a 2 or 3 seed, but they still probably will. But I'm taking Oklahoma in this one. I just think they're going to get the edge, especially if they can calm down, hit the free throws like that. As much as I want to take Texas, Oklahoma has just been really hot lately. They're winning the games they need to, especially the top like 15, top 25 teams. I think that shows a lot, especially going into this next month when it comes to March, and they're going to be really successful.
I absolutely agree with damn near everything you just said. I'm also on Oklahoma. They're a team where, like you, I'm kind of hopping on the train now. I know I'm probably a little late to it, but they've been picking up these quality wins against quality opponents. I had picked against them. I had Texas against them the first time. I had Alabama against them when they played. Games that I watched closely that I was like, all right, Oklahoma's the real deal. Texas, since they're the drop off has come since they took like 2 or 3 weeks off because of COVID. They didn't play. They were practicing still as a team, but it's not the same as that in-game experience. So since then, the only real game I've watched of Texas was when Baylor routed them, which I mean that happens. Baylor's pretty fucking good, but Oklahoma at home. I like them 1.5. Obviously, that's not a big spread. They just got to win. Um,
I
so I
would
think I
definitely bet
think
the
they
spread
pick
on
up the
that one.
win.
Yeah, definitely gonna bet the spread on that one. I just it's I mean, we obviously know it's not gonna come down to 1.5 points, and it's
Right.
gonna
I'd
be
be
a
pretty
winner.
pissed they win by 1 this time though.
Yeah, seriously.
I feel good about that. Two unranked teams now. Both of them I would say are still looking for spots in the tournament. The ACC has been a little bit of a shaky conference. We have NC State at Pitt. Pitt is -3.5. So again, not a huge favorite. Uh, both of these teams are real shaky. I remember I had Virginia Tech against Pitt like a week and a half ago, and Pitt came out and blew the brakes off of them. It was a shitty loss. I'm sure you were upset about it too. And it was just one I didn't see coming because these teams were so inconsistent. And then NC State, they had been looking good, and then Duke beats the shit out of them. So it just very inconsistent teams, but good teams that are still trying to get in the tournament. Who you got there?
So I've kind of been keeping up with Pitt lately,
Hmm.
especially after he came on the Barstool, he came on Bench Mob, and
Yeah.
he kind of talked this last weekend, and I listened to that. And judging from his experiences, he has coaching experience at Duke when he worked under Coach K as an assistant, which I thought was really 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 cool. He learned a lot from him, and so slowly, I think he's like honestly not even slowly. He is rebuilding that program better than it's been the last 15 years. I mean, the Pitt's never really been in the question in the
No.
ACC. It's typically been like the 3 or 4 teams that we always see up there, and obviously this year is completely different. Like you said, Duke doing
Just
something
absolute
different
dog
every
shit.
yeah, something different every single game. It doesn't look like they're gonna make the tournament at this point. But like the thing that stood out to me most, everyone is still really on UVA. I really don't get how they're in the top 10. I'm like, I mean, I'm a big tech guy, but
Absolutely.
UVA is just like, I don't know what they're gonna do in March, and seeing them in the top 10 just makes me nervous.
I got some words about them later for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So Pitt played UVA really damn well, like better than a lot of the teams the ACC have played them. Obviously, Tech was able to put up a fight, gobble gobble. Um, But I mean that coming off playing a program that good really well, especially when you're a rebuilding program, is really impressive. And the only good win NC State had was against North Carolina, who's been swappy all year.
Yep.
I'm going to protect on this one. I'm going to take Pitt just because I haven't really seen anything impressive out of NC State this year.
I am also on Pitt. I feel really good about this pick. It's one of the ones that I'm more confident in out here. I just think NC State, seeing the way they played against Duke, it was in NC State too. They just played horrible.
Yeah.
And I really hadn't watched much of them before that. So, that's probably an unfair sample size when it comes to this pick. But I mean, God, they were awful. And Pitt, again, I'd watched them a couple times, but the Virginia Tech game was the first time where, I was watching a majority of it. And they looked good. So I think at home, I think they probably win this game by closer to 10 than 4, to be honest. I think it could be double digits. So I feel I feel good about Pitt here. Keeping it in the ACC, we have Syracuse, another team that, I mean, it sounds a little repetitive, but like the rest of the ACC, has just been up and down. Some games they look great, some games they look terrible. At Louisville, in the latest brackets I saw, Louisville's coming in around an 8 or a 9 seed, so they're a team that should be making the tournament. In Louisville, Louisville -4. So again, not a huge favorite here. I'll start this time. I got Louisville. I feel very good about this one, very similar to how I felt about Pitt. It is a little scary because you don't know what Syracuse team is going to show up. You know, if you get the good Syracuse, it's a dogfight all of a sudden, and you're sweating that game out at the end. But if you get the bad Syracuse, this game won't be even close. So I think even if you do have the good Syracuse, Louisville can still win this game and cover. Uh, I don't really see. I mean, obviously things happen, but I think Louisville wins and covers pretty easily. This game I feel like could be anywhere between a 2 point game and a 22 point game, like
Yeah. Do you know what the cover is on this game?
four -4 for
Minus
Louisville.
four Louisville. Okay, yeah. So both very, very inconsistent teams. It's not, I don't think it's just Q's. I think Louisville's also been pretty back and forth.
Yep.
So Syracuse, like we said, very, very inconsistent. 78-60 win over Tech. I mean, that's gonna impress me regardless. You beat a team like Tech with Keve Aluma and I mean, knowing the things he does and the rest of the program. I mean,
Yep.
that's a good program, especially this year. But the following game, right after they beat Tech, they go over to UVA, lose 81-58, which is
Right.
absolutely ridiculous. I mean, obviously Tech is probably a little bit shittier than UVA
But
this year.
still, not a
Yeah, UVA is
significant
giving a little bit of
difference.
the edge, but when you get that big of a loss difference in back-to-back games, it's just like, okay, something's wrong here.
Yep.
And then they got beat the shit out of by Pitt and North Carolina, who are
Hmm.
like not very good at all. I mean, they're good, but
Not
um,
great teams
they're
or
not
anything
great
like
teams.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not. They're not gonna. I honestly don't think they're gonna be the ones that push towards the Elite Eight when it comes.
No,
Probably
definitely
not even
not.
Sweet 16, in my opinion, especially North Carolina. And then Louisville coming off a close game against Clemson. Clemson's been pretty good this year. I think it was only a 4 point difference. I think it was like
Yep.
74-70. So that, I mean, that's pretty impressive. And then Duke is still a big win. I know people are shitting on Duke this year, but they're always going to be a good program. So I remember when Virginia Tech played Duke for the first time this year, when we got the dub, I was so happy.
You know they have
That was a
talent.
big
Coach
deal.
K obviously is
Yeah.
great. They're just not playing.
Yeah. And then I mean that Duke was an impressive win, and then Georgia Tech was semi-impressive.
Yep, they've been another streaky team.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm sticking with Louisville this one. I think you're right. I think it's gonna be weird. I think we're gonna go into this game kind of blindly, but judging from what we've seen in the past, I don't think there's any reason why Louisville shouldn't win this one. So I'm sticking with them.
All right, we've agreed on all three so far. That's a good sign.
Mm.
We're gonna go to two of the smaller conferences now. We'll start with the Big East. You have Marquette at Butler. Butler is -2, so a small favorite here. Teams that Butler probably not going to make the tournament, losing record right now. Marquette still fighting for a spot, needs to pick up some quality wins down the stretch. A road win right here would help a lot. It's going to be a close game. Who do you got?
So I haven't paid too much attention to this conference just because obviously they're not typically one of the ones that really goes too far in March.
Yeah,
What really stood out to me was the Marquette win over Creighton. I mean, Creighton, with what we saw last week, can be an Elite Eight program.
yep,
I don't know. They're pretty on the edge for me. I don't want to believe it, but they could.
absolutely.
I think they're going to be an amazing mid-major team where they're going to come in, they're going to win the first 2 or 3 rounds, and then it's just going to be like blown out.
Runs into someone
So
too good.
Marquette so they won that first one, and then when they faced them the second time, they faced Creighton the second time, they only lost by 3. So Marquette is hanging with the big boys, and in that conference, it's really hard to get good competitions. It's kind of like the Nova conversation, where, excuse me, the Gonzaga conversation, where
Just the
um,
quality of teams they're
exactly the
playing.
quality of teams. They'll stack their preseason games, and they'll play good teams, and then after that, it's just dog shit the rest of the conference.
Yep.
Um, and then what I had in there, Butler hasn't contested good programs. I mean, they have Seton Hall, who is usually a really damn good team to make it to
Yep.
the tournament last couple of years, and Creighton. But I think Noah's gonna fucking blow out that conference like nobody else. I'm pretty sure Marquette only has 2 more wins than Butler. It's something like
Yeah. Yeah. No,
both have
Marquette.
losing records.
Yep.
Um, but I'm taking Marquette in this one. I don't think Butler's really done too much, and Marquette has actually hung with the big dogs, like I said, against Creighton. So I'm taking Marquette. I don't think that's. And you said the spread was only what, -2?
Yeah. Butler's a 2-point favorite. So you're taking
Oh
the
wow.
dog here. Yeah.
Oh wow. That's unbelievable. Yeah. So I think it's Marquette hands down, but that's just what I'm going with.
I'm on it too. I'm on it too. 4 for 4, 4 for 4. Marquette, I just think they're Butler, unless they win the Big East tournament, which I don't think they will, they're not going to make the tournament, meaning the big one. Marquette, they still have a chance if they can win some of these games down the stretch. I just think this game means more to Marquette. The hungry dog runs faster. Marquette's they need the win. They're hungry for the win. It does a little bit on the road, scares me, but I don't think it matters too much. I don't even care about the 2 points. I'll be taking Marquette money line here just to win the game. You'll be getting like plus 110 on it or something like that. So an okay payout there. Um,
I think that's something to like take into March too. Like that was a great point you just made. I don't know about on the road because with these small schools, also come small stadiums, and then when they get into March and they're facing these
the big
guys,
stadiums.
yeah,
Yeah.
big stadiums facing guys 2 or 3 times bigger than them. I mean, they'll have a game plan going into it, but it's hard to prepare for those huge programs when you get to like the ACC and the Big Ten.
Yep.
I think Marquette can. I think they will sneak into it, but I just don't think they're going to go too far. But I do like their program a lot. I think
I've
they're
always been a Marquette fan too. Jimmy Butler, Dwayne Wade, both Marquette alums.
yeah.
So solid guys, cool uniforms. It's a little bit of a homer pick, but I think Marquette will win. Uh, what is truthfully two teams that people probably haven't paid attention to this year because they're from the A10, but they're two good teams. VCU 11-2, Richmond 10-4. Richmond at VCU, two great teams. They're both going to make the tournament. They're teams that I could definitely see winning a game or two, making the Sweet 16. If they play some right teams. VCU -2.5 here, so a small favorite at home. I'll go first here. I love VCU. Love VCU in this game. It's nothing against Richmond. I think Richmond's a good team. VCU is one of these teams where I've only watched them 2 or 3 times this year. They played Dayton earlier in the year. I like Dayton. I had Dayton in that game, and VCU blew the doors off them. The game wasn't even close. So I was upset about that, but it put me on notice. So I watched them a couple more times. They're the real deal. I will be honest, I haven't watched Richmond once this season. Uh, I just based off of some of the stuff I looked up about them, they're a good team in bracketology. They're coming in at like a 10 seed right now. So that's pretty impressive for, a smaller school, but I like VCU here 2.5. It's basically a pick 'em. VCU at home. I feel confident in their ability to cover the spread.
And what the hell is up with the VCU this year? Who would have thought Virginia Commonwealth would be this fucking insane?
Right?
I love it. I like you said, I've only watched a few games. I've watched a couple of Richmond games, and typically I would want to choose Richmond regardless, just hoping they could come through. But holy shit, VCU is like electric right now. It's
They're so
actually
fun.
when you yeah, exactly. It's like watching a I mean, they're smarter than Nevada. I mean, they're smarter than everybody in the Mountain West, and you got a team that's doing this damn good. And
Yep.
like I said, the win over Dayton, they'll play a couple decent programs. I know people can look at their league and be like, they're all fucking small schools on the East Coast. They're not relevant. Blah blah blah. No, they have been outstanding this year. So they played West Virginia even very very well while they were ranked in the top 15.
Yep.
That is impressive. I mean, you got teams like Ohio State, Iowa, and all these big major programs that are struggling to beat them by like 10. And they played
Right?
them very well. I'm pretty sure it was within 10 when they played them, which is absolutely fucking insane.
It
They're
shouldn't have been that close. Like they're, a small school like that shouldn't be hanging around with a
exactly.
team of that caliber.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure their record right now is 15-4. That's overall.
Yep.
In the league, they're probably what, like 10-4
8
maybe?
and I'm looking at it right now. They're 8-2 in conference.
8-2. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so they're doing great right now. I love how the Steamboats are rolling right now, and I feel like they're gonna keep rolling like you said. You said they're looking at like a 10 seed right now.
Yeah, yeah, that's about where they are. I mean, like you said,
Awesome.
they they lost to West Virginia by 12, which is the second game of the year for them, which isn't a bad loss. They
Yeah.
lost at Penn State by 3. I mean, they have wins. They have wins over, let me see here, over Dayton, over St. Bonaventure, over Rhode Island, over Dayton twice. So they have the quality wins. They're not a bad
Yeah.
team.
Exactly, and they're handling their conference, which is most important for them, I'm sure right now, and I'm sure that's what they're focused on. And you want to think about tunnel vision.
Yep.
I mean, their main focus is to get to the tournament, but in order to do that, they got to keep winning out. I think they're going to be fine right now. I think they already, with the way they're playing, they've secured a spot in the tournament. And not to discredit Richmond, because they are a very, very good program. It's not
Yeah.
like this is going to be a fucking blow. It's really not.
No.
Richmond's going to put a good fight up. It's going to be a dogfight. Like it's going to be back and forth. Both these teams are very, very good programs. But I'm with you. I'm taking VCU. That doesn't even sound like a bad spread either to take them.
No, right? It's 2.5. It's not like it's 6 or something.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I'm 100% on the VCU train. That's awesome.
And the last Wednesday game we got here, back to a major conference. We got the Big Ten, Minnesota at Indiana. Indiana -4.5 at home. Minnesota's been such a tricky team for me to figure out this year. And what I've recently figured out, because they played Maryland 2 days ago, and I was all over Maryland, and Maryland won, they covered.
Yep.
Minnesota is so bad on the road. At home, Minnesota very good. They beat Michigan at home. They can hang with anybody, especially at home. But on the road, Minnesota blows. And for that reason, I'm taking Indiana here. 4.5. It's not, they got to win the game. Minnesota on the road is just so bad. Is so bad. And Indiana, they're not as great as they usually are, but they're still not a bad team this year. They're still playing for stuff. It's not like they're giving up on the season or anything like that. So I like Indiana at home.
Yeah, it must be some with like some like stadium seats behind their fucking backboard.
No
or
idea.
Judging them off, but you're absolutely correct. They're fucking dog shit. I mean, you could find that out just by looking at like their record.
Yeah, right.
They look inconsistent, but then when you look at like home and away games, you realize like, god damn, like they cannot do shit on the road. And it's not just like close losses. They're getting
bad losses.
Destroyed. Yeah, they're getting destroyed. So what I had, Indiana is very, very hot. Win against Iowa, dropped them down to 11.
Great win.
Yeah, great win by Indiana. I'm sure
had Iowa
fired the fuck up. At least I would hope so. For being an unranked team, that is like being in Iowa, who was, I don't know when we started the year, they were 1-4. I want to say they were like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
4. But I mean, beating a team like that has a chip on their shoulder. They're going to carry that into the next few games. And then Illinois, ranked number 5, very, very close game against them. So I mean, they're coming off some fire right now. I mean, they got fire lit under their asses. They know they're the shit. Hopefully they can carry in that confidence to the next game because I'm taking them. Minnesota, they are one of the like we saw at the Michigan game. They can upset, but they barely
I just don't think they can do it on the road.
Yeah, especially I like Maryland a lot, but it was like a low scoring game. If I'm correct, it was like in the 50s. Like
it wasn't. Yeah,
50s. It was dog shit on both sides. And I actually kind of like Maryland, but
They're a team I
They
like.
barely were able to hold off Purdue, and I remember us on the last podcast, we're talking about how Purdue could be one of those teams to like go crazy and upset a shit ton of people.
Yep.
They're barely able to hold them off, and Purdue is such a smaller program than them. So I think it's pretty clear Indiana's going to win this game. That's who I'm taking in this.
All right. We agreed on every game
That's
Wednesday.
awesome. I love
So
it. Hopefully we don't fucking lose this.
I know we're either gonna look real smart or like absolute idiots. Switching to Thursday now. We only got 4 games on Thursday, 3 of which are in the Big Ten, and that is where we will start. Ohio State on the road at Penn State. Ohio State is a 5-point favorite here. I'll be honest, Ohio State, they're a team that I really haven't watched enough. I've only watched them a couple times, and they didn't totally impress me. I watched them play Purdue, who, as we just said, is not a good team. And I've also watched Penn State enough to know that they can be tricky. However, I'm not listening to my gut here because my gut tells me Penn State. I'm gonna take Ohio State in this game, 5-point favorite. It's tricky. It's definitely throwing me off here because Penn State at home is tough. Ohio State, from what I've seen, hasn't impressed me, but a lot of people are in on Ohio State. I'm gonna buy into the hype and take them in this game, but I don't love that pick. It makes me nervous, but I'm taking it.
Yeah, the +5 kind of makes me nervous. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I want to bet that.
Lay the
Uh,
5.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So um, going down the list that I have, Ohio State's coming off wins 89-85 Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Great win for Ohio State. Everyone knows, but I mean, Iowa is one of those teams where if they get going, they're going to destroy everybody. When they're not getting going, then I'd say half the teams in the country can beat them.
Yep.
They're a good team, but they don't always utilize it, especially when they're just dishing the ball off to Garza
All right, just
every
hoping he
damn
can just do his
play.
job down low.
Yeah, it's gonna get old, and teams are gonna catch on. I think they need a better coaching plan over there. But to their credit, Ohio State, big win over them. I like I said in the like a couple minutes ago, Maryland I think is a pretty good team. They had a win 73-65 over Maryland. I think that's decently impressive. Um, for for what's going on in the world right now. We've
Yep.
seen so many upsets this year, but sticking with that one. And then 78-59 over Indiana.
20
That's
points.
the one that stood out to me the most. That is a huge fucking win.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch that game, but that's a pretty damn big score differential. That couldn't have came down to free throws.
Right, they just blew him
Came down
out.
to fouls. Yeah, it was just that's a blowout. That's a blowout and a half. So they're good with the mid-major programs, which is what they're going to see in March, at least for the first couple of rounds. So Ohio State is looking good in March. I like them right now. Penn State lost to Wisconsin when they were ranked 21, 77-56. Again, that's a fucking huge loss.
Yep.
Really embarrassing. It's over 20 points. And then close losses to Michigan State and Nebraska. Michigan State's been pretty ass this year. Nebraska, Nebraska, I haven't watched too much, but I would, from what my gut's telling me and watched them in the past, I would assume they're not very good. So Penn State kind of makes me nervous. But I mean, going back to the beginning of the year with that win over Virginia Tech, that makes me a little bit more nervous for this game that they can upset. But I mean, they only beat Maryland by 5. Penn State can upset some teams, but I think with a program like Ohio State, they're not going to be able to upset them. Going over the -5 for Ohio State, I don't know if that's a safe one to take necessarily. Maybe we can find money line or something on that. But
yeah,
because Penn State, you never fucking know.
that's
dude.
what. So you're kind of with me, Ohio State, but it's not.
Yeah, I'm taking Ohio State for the dub, but with Penn State, they could pull something fucking out of their ass.
Right.
We never would know until the end of the game. So I'm taking Ohio State. I'm not too sure about betting the spread for that one, but I think they're going to be able to pull off the win.
Next, we got a team we've been talking about quite a bit, Iowa, who, as we just said, has been pretty streaky, at Wisconsin. Wisconsin, a couple days ago they played Michigan in Wisconsin. Wisconsin was up 14 in that game and ended up losing. I had Michigan, so I was happy about that. Wisconsin, small favorite in this game, only a 2-point favorite. Um, I I'm taking Iowa here. Uh, Again, it's kind of a nervous pick because Iowa's real shaky, and on the road in the Big Ten, it can be real hard to win games. 2 points. I'm just going to take Iowa money line here. I feel good about that as far as versus taking the 2. I don't think it'll be that. I don't think they'll lose by 1. But it makes me nervous because Wisconsin, they're an old team. Their average starting age is older than some of these NBA teams. They're an
Like that.
experienced team.
Yeah, I like that.
However, I think Iowa's a little too good, a little too talented. I think they pick up the win here. Tough win, real tough win.
Mhm. Yeah, so I can't agree with you more. I like the Iowa pick. I'm taking that one. I think we can win a little bit of money on that one. So
Yep.
watching Wisconsin this year, I've come to realize that I mean they have had a lot of really big wins, but if you look at who their losses are to, they cannot beat top 15 teams.
Nope.
It's flat out. So when they come against Iowa, what the fuck are they going to do? Because losses over Michigan, Ohio State, and Illinois, again, some of the
Yeah,
they
some
are
of the best
some of
teams
the
in the
best
country.
programs in the country right now. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'm not dissing them for the losses against them, but when they're upwards of like 10, 15 points, you're going to show you cannot hang with the big dogs. Wisconsin cannot hang with the big dogs. I don't know what it is. You would think with experience. I mean, I remember you and me going to Nevada basketball games, seeing Caleb Martin. Uh,
Yep.
I mean, you get those older guys, Caleb and Cody. You get those older guys that have been playing the same fucking program and that have been playing ball for this long at that same level. Uh, you're gonna have an experience level, but Iowa this year is just they're putting up fights.
There's a
And
talent gap.
yeah, the talent level is very high, but they're also putting up fights against the teams they need to. So like, very close loss to Ohio State. 80. I guess that's not a too close of a loss. 89-55. That's not close at all. Okay,
Yeah.
take back what I said. Um, that was pretty much embarrassing. But I guess I want to go back a couple picks ago. Ohio State. I mean, they're going to be good.
Yep.
65-67 to Indiana. Again, Indiana's not ranked right now. I think they're around the bridge. They're going to be a really good mid-major team when it comes to March. And then they like Rutgers was hanging on just by a thread.
Yep.
They barely took that dub, and then Michigan State dubs last 2 games. And again, Michigan State's not a very good team, but I think they'll carry that into this next game. And like I said, Wisconsin's not too good against those
These high level teams.
big major teams. Yeah, so I'm taking Iowa in this matchup. I just don't think Wisconsin has the. I think they got a little bit of old knees in them right now, and they can't get up to the level of Iowa.
All right, we're going to go a little quick with these last 2 picks. Rutgers at Michigan. Michigan, a 13-point favorite at home. That's a big spread. I'm going to take Rutgers here, not to win. I don't think they're going to win, but to cover the 13, I think that's a lot of points. I think Rutgers is not a bad team. Michigan is a top 5 team. They're a top 3 team. They're going to be a 1 seed. They absolutely deserve to be. I love Michigan. I've bet them a lot this year. I just think Rutgers is not that bad. They can lose by 10 and still that's fine. So I don't think Rutgers wins. Like Michigan is going to win this game 100%. But I think Rutgers will cover the spread here. That's just too many points for me.
Yeah, and agreeing with your point 100%. I do think Michigan's going to win. But you're right. Rutgers is not a bad program at all. I mean, 66-79 lost to Iowa.
Yep.
11 points. Super, super close. And then you got 79-68 lost to Ohio State. Again, 11 points. That's absolutely nothing, especially
they're hanging around.
Yeah, when you get Rutgers against Ohio State, it's like meeting that medium shows you're actually doing something. You're doing something good with the program.
Yep.
And I mean, Michigan has turned it up since that loss against Minnesota. Coming off a big win against Wisconsin, 67-59. when Wisconsin was ranked 21. But I think you're right. I think it's good to pick Rutgers. I didn't know it's that big of a difference.
Yeah, it's a huge spread.
Right, that's huge. Yeah. So I think you're right. I would take Rutgers. I think they're going to cover. But I do think Michigan's going to win the game.
And the last game that we are going to touch on here, St. Mary's at Gonzaga. Gonzaga, a 23-point favorite. It's a lot of points, but they've been covering all of them this year. I'm going to take Gonzaga. I just think that they're kind of in a mode where they're just like, hey, we're just going to beat the shit out of everyone we play until they play someone on a similar talent level. St. Mary's, they're not a bad team, but it's in Gonzaga. Gonzaga could win this game by 40 and I wouldn't be shocked. Like 23, I wouldn't bet a lot on this game because that is a big spread, but I like Gonzaga there. I don't think St. Mary's can keep it that close.
See, I think St. Mary's is a very surprising program. I think they're always really, really solid. I think this is probably going to be our first disagreement for the night. And trust me, if I'm being completely honest, I do not think St. Mary's going to be able to upset Gonzaga. With that being said, if they're going to lose a game this season, it's going to be this game or their very last game where they play St. Mary's. But I think if there's a chance, it's going to be this one. Last contest they had, Gonzaga won 73-59. Again, you said the spread was 23?
23, yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. I do think St. Mary's can get it under 23 of a difference. I know they've been blowing everyone out. They even blew out Iowa. So I mean, Gonzaga really is the real deal. It kind of makes me upset, but they are. But I do think if St. Mary's is going to do something, it has to be this game. So hopefully they live up to the potential that they can play at because they are a good program. Obviously Gonzaga is a lot better of a squad than they are, but I mean, look at like the Nevada San Francisco game where we just got absolutely fucking destroyed by a bunch
murdered.
of scrams. Yeah. So I'm actually taking St. Mary's.
That's our first
because I want to go out on a
right
limb. And I mean, if you want to place the fucking bet, you'd win so much money, even if it's just a couple dollars. But
right.
I'm taking St. Mary's, even though I do think Gonzaga's going to win. But I'd like to see a surprises.
So we agreed on 9 out of 10 games there, which is pretty impressive. So we're either going to look real good or real bad.
I think we're looking good. We do our studies.
We're winners. It's just what we do.
That's what we do. Exactly.
So now it was, I want to say it was Saturday, might have been Sunday. CBS released what, as of now, and obviously this is going to change a lot. This isn't like what the top 16 teams are, but what it's going to be. I'm just going to read off the regions and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So region 1, you have Gonzaga at the 1, Alabama at the 2, Oklahoma at the 3, Iowa at the 4. Region 2, you have Baylor, Illinois, Tennessee, Texas. Region 3, Michigan, Houston, West Virginia, Missouri. And Region 4, which I think is the most wide open, Ohio State, Villanova, Virginia, and Texas Tech. So what I want to do is I got 2 teams here. However many you got, it's fine. Teams you think that we're going to start with too low, that their ranking you thought they should have been higher in this than where they were. I'll start off. One team I thought was too low was Oklahoma. They were a 3 in this, and they were the 12th team overall. They're 13-5. They have some of the most impressive wins of any team in the country at West Virginia, at Texas, against Alabama, against West Virginia again, and against Kansas. And then if you want to look at their losses, 2 points to Texas Tech, 4 points at Kansas, 5 points at Texas Tech. They got beat pretty bad by Baylor. But again, Baylor's really good. The one loss that I didn't even remember because it was from November, 22 points to Xavier. Don't know where the fuck that came from. Xavier, not that good of a team. But again, that's in November. Like that, it was like their 4th game of the season. So just looking at those wins, in all of those losses, other than Baylor and Xavier, are under 2 possessions. They lost those games, those 3 games, the 2 to Texas Tech, 1 at home, 1 on the road, and the 1 at Kansas by a combined 11 points. So, I mean, those are games that could have gone either way down at the end. So, uh, I think Oklahoma should have been higher. I think they beat Alabama. So I don't really quite understand the thinking of having Alabama ahead of them, but that's a team I had too low.
Awesome. Yeah. So my first one would have been Oklahoma as well. Like we talked about earlier in the cast, like Oklahoma is absolutely insane right now. Like
Right.
watching their wins and even their losses are close. I definitely think they should be moving up, and I think everyone's just so excited about Alabama being one of the best teams in the SEC, if not the best, that they just want to put them as high up as possible because an SEC team doesn't really go this high.
Right? Unless it's Kentucky.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And Kentucky's fucking
Shit this year.
miles away. Yeah. So I definitely agree with you on the Oklahoma standpoint. One that kind of stood out to me, Houston going above West Virginia. I love Houston. Trust me, I do. And I do think they're a really good program. But if Houston and West Virginia play each other, are we really going to say Houston's going to win? Um, I know it could be close, but watching West Virginia play this year and the close contest they've had with the Big Ten programs, and especially in the ACC, how they've been playing people.
Yep.
I think West Virginia gets the edge on that one, even if it's just a slight edge. Uh,
Mhm.
and I mean, Tennessee, I don't know if they should be considered above Texas, but I mean, Tennessee's really good, but I think Texas has just had some shitty close losses, like you were talking about a couple
Yep.
minutes ago about like the possession changes and stuff like that. I think if Texas had a couple more go their way, they could be a lot different in the ranking. But I think the big ones for me for Oklahoma and West Virginia.
The other one that I thought was just too low was Texas Tech.
Yeah,
They were a 4 seed in this. They're 14-6. If you just look at some of their wins, they've beat Oklahoma twice, who obviously we were just sucking their dick. At Oklahoma and then at home against Oklahoma. They won in Texas. And again, I get it was a one point game. It was a buzzer beater that McClung hit, but I mean, he's good. Like, well, you can't, a 1 point win is still a win. And then the win at LSU, which was a send from God that they covered that game. And then if you look at their losses, again, they're not really bad losses. They've lost twice to West Virginia, who again, you were just saying, and I completely agree, they're a good team. Those aren't losses to be ashamed of. They lost to Baylor, Kansas, Houston, all good teams. And then Oklahoma State, who I get that they're not necessarily in the same tier as some of those teams, but Oklahoma State, Marcus Smart jersey, baby. Oklahoma State is still a good team. They're a team that I think could make some noise. So that's not a loss that I would, that's not like, oh, they lost to Oklahoma State. What losers? Like, that's not a
yeah.
terrible loss. So I would have liked to see Texas Tech been a little higher. I think in that region 4 with Ohio State, who I'm not super high on. And then I'm going to talk about, I have the other two here in a second. Virginia and Villanova, who I think are questionable. I think, and obviously it's not set like this, but if that's what it was, I think Texas Tech could make a lot of noise in there. Now we'll switch to teams that we thought were too high.
Villanova. I do not think Villanova is that good at all. Um,
I have them. That's my first one as well.
yeah, it's just, especially in this bracket, I don't even think UVA should be this high. I really don't.
That's
I
my other
maybe that,
team that I have is too high.
yeah, it's just seeing both those teams that high, and UVA is, I don't know why. I think it's just because of the last 2 years and how good they've been. They just think that if they win a couple games over mid-major programs, and keep in mind these wins that they're taking into account are fucking against the ACC, who is all over the fucking place this year. You can't count those as huge wins.
Their
So why are you going to put them in
Virginia's
the
only ranked win was Clemson.
yeah?
That
And
is their
Clemson,
only ranked win.
yeah, and Clemson hasn't done jack. I mean,
No, Clemson hasn't been that good. They've
they
been
haven't. They really haven't. And it's just I don't know why they're that high. It makes absolutely no sense. And it really pissed me off that Texas Tech is actually like where has Texas Tech been the last couple of years, you know? And seeing them this at 14 um, and not being above UVA is just, especially with the slow start UVA had, and it's not like they've just been fucking killing everybody to get
Well,
a
and
top 10
if you
spot.
look at UVA's losses, they at San Francisco, which look, San Francisco beat UNR, but San Francisco is not a good basketball
They're
team.
not.
We're
They're
not
not.
going to pretend like they are.
Yeah.
23 points at Gonzaga. Gonzaga's a good team, but 23 points. I mean, it showed that they're just in a different class.
Yeah.
14 at Virginia Tech. Don't get me wrong, Virginia Tech, good team, but that's not a close game. It's not like you lost on like some weird thing at the end. And then just last night, 21 points at Florida State, they lose by. So,
Yeah, I think that'll change a lot. And Florida State's one of those teams I know you and me are both very, very
yep,
excited about to see what they do in March. Because I mean, Virginia, they have Texas at 15 and Virginia at 9. How does that make any sense?
right
Any sense?
where
They got Iowa at 13. So you're telling me Virginia is the next best team behind Iowa? They're not even near the same ranking. Like it makes no sense. It's kind of frustrating. I mean, the rankings have been all over the place this year, but yeah, that's just absolutely ridiculous.
and then
Maybe it's my
Villanova, if looking at them, because the two teams I think are very comparable. Villanova's best win is at Texas, who it's a good win, but when that is Villanova's only ranked win, just like how Virginia's only ranked win is Clemson. Like one ranked win, and you're having these teams as two and three seeds. And then if you look at Villanova's losses, again, very similar to Virginia, they're bad losses. 11 points at St. John's. St. John's is going to sneak into the tournament, maybe. They're
yeah.
nothing special. 16 points at Creighton. That's not like you just lost on like a three at the buzzer or from free throws at the end. And then 8 points at home against Virginia Tech, who obviously, as we've said, is a good team. But again, like 8 points, it's not like it was a one possession game or something like that. So both of those two teams, if you just didn't look at the name and looked at the resume, I don't think you'd have them where they are. I think they're getting in because of the name type of thing. Like if you covered up Villanova and you just saw, all right, so this team's best win is at Texas, and then they have three losses to 11 points St. John, 16 points Creighton, and 8 point Virginia Tech. You don't have that team as a two seed. Same thing with Virginia. You cover up where it says Virginia. Their best win is at Clemson. They've lost to San Francisco. They lost by more than 20 to Gonzaga, more than 20 to Florida State, and 14 to Virginia Tech. That's not a three seed.
Yeah, and the funniest thing, I know we were talking about it earlier, it's funny to see Creighton not be in this mix because you think all these teams are going to beat Creighton. I don't think so at all.
I mean, we just saw what happened when Villanova played them.
Exactly. It's absolutely ridiculous that they think these teams are. And to their credit, Creighton is a little bit inconsistent, but look at fucking Villanova and Virginia. I mean, that
It's
is
it's not only like
horrendous.
if they had both of those two at four seeds, maybe I'd get it. But to have some of those teams, you're telling me that these two teams are better than Texas. You're telling me that these two teams are better than West Virginia, better than Iowa. I mean,
Yeah, I'm really excited to see the first and the third region turn out because I think those are going to be very exciting. Especially when you got these new teams peeking in there.
right?
Especially like you get Oklahoma, Alabama, Iowa, and Gonzaga all in the same conference.
Those are all great games, no
Yeah,
matter who
those
plays
are going to be
who.
insane. And then Houston is going to be interesting. Like I said, I love Houston.
Yep.
I think West Virginia should be a little bit higher than them. But Houston's going to be they'll be interesting to watch, especially since they're not near as big as some of these other programs.
Yep. All right. So to recap the card here, the only one we disagree on is Gonzaga, St. Mary's. I have Gonzaga minus 23. You have St. Mary's plus 23. We we agree on these next ones. Oklahoma minus 1.5 home against Texas. Pitt 3.5 home against NC State. Marquette, a 2-point underdog. I think we both took them outright at Baylor. Louisville -4 home against Syracuse. VCU 2.5 home against Richmond. Indiana 4.5 home against Minnesota. Ohio State 5-point favorite at Penn State. Rutgers 13-point underdog at Michigan, and then Iowa. They're +2. I think we both took them to win at Wisconsin.
Yep.
All righty. We will see how those picks turn out. Logan, thank you as always. That was absolutely sensational.
Thank you so much, Murray. You know I love coming on.
Absolutely.
I love to come on. I can't wait for March.
You know it. We're gonna have some good ones.
I think these regions are going to look a bit different when it really comes down to what we see.
I would agree. I think that that top 16 is going to change a lot between now and March, because I mean we got a lot of basketball. Obviously all these teams are still playing each other. You know, Iowa's got a tough game coming up, as we said. A lot of them do, but just some surprises when they came out with it.
Yeah, we've never seen a perfect bracket for God knows how long. So,
ever.
Yeah, who knows when
this will be the year. I'm feeling one of us will get
it. We're cashing out. We're blowing this podcast up. We're gonna be billionaires. But thank you again for having me on. I feel pretty confident in these picks. I hope everybody that's watching has the same confidence in us. If not, just split the fucking St. Mary's game, because and I don't know how that's gonna go, but
I mean, 9 out of 10 picks.
We're gonna win you guys some money, hopefully.
Millions, hopefully. All right. Thanks, Logie. Have a good one.
You as well, my man. I love you.
Love you too. All right, and a big thank you to Logan for coming on. It's great stuff. Always talking college basketball with people who know what they're talking about. Crazy that we agreed on 9 out of 10 picks, and the one we didn't agree on was a 23-point spread. Feel pretty good about all of those. They're all going to be winners, I assume. Breaking down that top 16 was a lot of fun. So those games are going to be coming out Wednesday and Thursday nights. Well, hopefully I'll have another one out before what'll be a big college basketball Saturday coming up. But other than that, I appreciate the support from everyone as always. Send it to a friend or two. Keep it growing and stuff like that. Have a pretty good record on it overall. Picking at about 64% on picks given out on here. So you need to be picking at 53% to be making money. We're 11% over that. So just going to keep it rolling. Thank you all. Love you much.